everyone, this is ChakaWhat here, and today I'm going to be presenting to you my review of the first season of Creepshow. Creepshow was originally an anthology horror film created by George Romero, Night of the Living Dead, and Stephen King in 1982. It was given 2 sequels that followed the same formula, and has now been revived on the streaming service Shudder as a television show. There were 6 episodes in the first season with 2 stories per episode, and I would get home and I'd be like, it's Thursday, my dudes, we're watching Creepshow, and I would wait until my mom and dad we could all sit down and watch it together. So this is going to be a bit of a different review, as there isn't like a set amount of characters, like main characters or plots that I can go through. But I love this series so much, and I really wanted to give my thoughts on it. As we all know, yesterday was Halloween. It snowed here so much that I didn't even get to go out and get any candy, which was a bummer, because I hope that next year I can, because this is the first year I didn't go trick-or-treating, and that was disappointing. But it was really funny because, in high school, all the freshmen are like, oh, I'm too old for Halloween. I don't even like candy. Dressing up is for tiny children. And the sophomores, juniors, and seniors are like staring at them with their makeup done and their costumes like, sure. I went as Herbert West, obviously. I had my reagent and my bloody shirt. I was very proud. But anyways, if any of you are celebrating El Dia de los Muertos, I hope you have a good time. So let's get on with the review. The first episode's stories were Gray Matter, based on a story by Stephen King, and The House of the Head by Josh Malerman. So Gray Matter involved a widower and his son. The father turned to drinking, and eventually something monstrous begins to grow, and it is filled with veteran horror actors. And House of the Head followed this young girl and her dollhouse, and the dollhouse is haunted by a tiny little head. And between these two, I definitely preferred House of the Head, because even after seeing some of the rest of the episodes, this remains one of my favorites. The work with the dolls, like their reactions to everything, and the young girl's reactions to everything, it was so perfect. And it was more funny than creepy, but it was just like a perfect kind of funny creep show thing. It was really, really good. Episode 2 was split into Bad Wolf Down by Rob Schrab and The Finger by David J. Show. Bad Wolf Down followed American soldiers during World War II, and basically it was Nazis versus werewolves, which obviously we would all vote for werewolves, right? Because screw Nazis. The Finger was a much more psychological horror story about an antisocial man who finds this finger. And the finger grows into an alien that kills everyone he hates. But is it really the alien, or is it him doing the killing and just kind of projecting it on? That's the question. So I preferred Bad Wolf Down because actually this episode was one of the reasons I wanted to watch the show to begin with, because it has Jeffrey Combs in it, and I am so enamored with Jeffrey Combs. I love him dearly. I'm sure you can tell by the tributes I make on this channel. And he was great in it, and it was just such a colorful and lovely episode. And werewolves versus Nazis. It's just good, okay? That being said, I do think DJ Qualls gave an excellent performance in The Finger. I'm actually going to talk about The Finger later, because certain of the stories I felt just could have used a little more drive. The third episode was split in between All Hallows Eve by Bruce Jones and The Man in the Suitcase by Christopher Buehlman. So All Hallows Eve was a revenge story of ghost children on Halloween night. They're going trick-or-treating, but we find out that there are reasons that they are out on this night in particular. And it's actually a lot sweeter than it sounds. It was a very, very earnest, very heartfelt episode. And The Man in the Suitcase was kind of almost an Arabian Nights-esque morality tale about a young man who finds a suitcase. And in this suitcase is a man, kind of crumpled up, all jumbled up in there. And when the man experiences pain, he coughs up gold coins. So I legitimately had to turn off the man in the suitcase just because it was awful what they started to do to him. That image, there's one image of just them with the suitcase. It scarred me. I don't usually have to turn off horror. But if it gets to that, yeah, I know how the episode ends. It was very well done, obviously, but I couldn't watch it, so I much preferred the All Hallows Eve story. Episode 4 was split between The Companion, based on a story by Joe Casey and Keith Lansdale, and Lydia Lane's Better Half by John Harrison and Greg Nicotero. Greg Nicotero is also the producer of the show and kind of a genre veteran. He's done the special effects for a whole bunch of stuff. So The Companion was about a young boy running away from his abusive brother, and he finds this house. And he finds this guy, and he killed himself. No one came to look for him. And outside of the guy's house is a scarecrow, impaled with a sword. And the scarecrow kills. And Lydia Lane's Better Half follows Lydia Lane after she accidentally murders her lover and then gets trapped in an elevator with the corpse. I don't have strong feelings about either story in this episode, but I feel like I did kind of prefer The Companion, just because it was more my horror thing. It was a scarecrow, and the directing was cool. It was just, but Lydia Lane's Better Half was really great, and it had lesbians. Woo! But yeah, I prefer The Companion. In episode 5, we had A Night of the Paw and Times is Tough in Muskie Holler by John Skip and Dory Miller. Both of them wrote those episodes. Night of the Paw was a traditional monkey's paw story, with the center being a widower whose wife was actually a victim of the paw. And Times is Tough in Muskie Holler was a zombie story about a town using this brutal form of capital punishment to get rid of the abusive leaders that took over after the zombies came. I felt that Night of the Paw was definitely the stronger of the two because it was a lot more contained. We weren't left with too many questions. And finally, episode 6 was split between By the Silver Water of Lake Champlain, based on a book by Joe Hill, and Skin Crawlers, which was actually written by Paul Dini, the creator of Harley Quinn, and Stephen Langford. By the Silver Water of Lake Champlain was about a girl following her dead father's footsteps to discover this kind of Loch Ness monster type thing living in the lake by their house. And Skin Crawlers was about a man, and he really wants to lose weight, so he goes to this weight loss treatment. And the way that they help people lose weight is by using parasitic leeches to suck out the fat. Between these two, I totally preferred Skin Crawlers, and not because Dana Gold played the lead with his handsome face and beautiful smile and lovely voice and... Shut up! So overall, I didn't think there were any true stinkers of the 6 episodes. I appreciate the acting and the lovely styles and colors and practical effects and the music that were used in the episodes. Because there was a lot of color. And I love it when my horror has color. Like, I feel like a lot of horror films, especially modern ones, they're so mundane. And sometimes that does work. Like, one of my favorite horror films is called Ghost Stories, and it's another anthology, but it's a very story-driven anthology. Like, it's different stories, but they're all very, very deeply connected. And it has Martin Freeman in it, and I love him, Bilbo Baggins. And that is very gray, but the cinematography is so beautiful that I don't really mind, because it still mixes, like, so many different things on the mundane color spectrum. And so But when things are just gray and gray and gray and navy blue and gray, just to be that, I'm just like, put some color in it. Make it colorful. I love color. It's just, my room is colorful. Just everything can be rainbows. I don't care. Life is colorful, okay? My favorite stories were definitely House of the Head, Bad Wolf Down, and Skin Crawlers. And not just because the latter two had some my favorite actors in them, but just because I felt that they were really unique and really great. Just well done, very fun, very memorable. I'll definitely rewatch them a lot. And on the flip side, I feel that stories like Times is Tough in Muskie Holler or The Finger would have benefited from having more time. Like, Times is Tough in Muskie Holler, it's like, these people are bad, and now they're dying. The end. Like, okay. And they did explain in, like, 2-second clips why these folks are bad, but, I don't know, it was too quick for its own good. And that's no good. That's not a story. It would have benefited from being longer. Like, I watched this one movie, what was it called? Night of the Living Dead 3D Reanimation. Now, it sounds terrible by the title, and I think I actually mentioned this in a dream vlog. That movie could have been excellent. They had a low budget, so they focused a lot of time on dialogue and characters. The problem was they made it about zombies. If it was just a psychological horror, it would have been phenomenal. But it was about zombies. So, sometimes I feel like people just throw in zombies to throw in zombies, and I'm like, great, I like zombies. Shaun of the Dead, I love 28 Days Later is one of my favorite horror movies ever. But if you just have zombies to have zombies, that doesn't work. And I almost think that Times is Tough in Muskie Holler would have been more impactful if the deaths were not from zombies. And as I said, the man in the suitcase, Ravi Naidu, he was just, I hope I did not butcher his name. But anyway, he was blessed. His acting was phenomenal in that, and I really felt for his character. But I can't watch someone be tortured. It's like, there was this Masters of Horror episode called Sounds Like, and it was this guy, and, after a tragedy, he lost his son, he had heightened hearing, like super hearing. And the episode was just super uncomfortable because it would always do close-ups on everything he was hearing, like chewing, scratching with fingers, breathing, things in the walls. And eventually there was this point where he's like trying to listen down to a grave, and he has his hands on the grass. And when he gets up, he has fistfuls of worms. I screamed and turned it off. I can't do that. I cannot do things that are making me uncomfortable just to make me uncomfortable. Yeah, that's part of what horror is, but also part of what horror is saying it's okay to laugh at the pain. And if I can't laugh at the pain at all, or if nothing ever gets better ever, then I just cannot. I cannot. But I really did appreciate that the show had such a Creepshow feel. Like, if you go back and watch the films, you can totally tell that this is in that same feel. It feels comic booky. It was like some of the shots would just be comic book panels. It was excellent. And I also think that the episodes that did have messages, their messages were pretty solid. And they did a really good job keeping up with the times. It was very updated. And, as someone who already adores horror anthologies, I think Creepshow might be becoming one of my new favorites. And I am so happy that it has been renewed for a second season. I'm really hoping that some of the actors and writers from the first season come back. And I'm also really looking to see some like fresh faces or horror veterans that weren't in the first season. So I would highly recommend Creepshow if you have the ability to watch it. Even though Shudder can sometimes be janky, I still love it because it's a horror streaming service and I love horror. And yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to say. I really wanted to talk about this because I'm passionate about it, and I'm really glad to have this new show that I can, just eat up. I eat up horror anthologies. I love them to death. So I hope you've enjoyed my video, and remember to like and subscribe. Bye!
Do you believe in kissing, honey? You bet I do. Well, I believe in kissing, honey, when the moon is new.
So as many of you know, I am a citizen of the USA, and currently our country is suffering from a crisis at the border. Immigrants seeking asylum in the US are being detained. Families are being separated and kept in detention centers in horrible conditions. All of it is scary and horrible, and a bit hard to come to terms with. So until things start getting better, I'm placing this message at the end of all of my videos to try to use what little influence I have to bring awareness and help. There are a number of things you can do to help. One of the simplest things is to donate to Immigrant Families Together, who are fundraising money to pay the bonds of detained immigrants and also provide necessities to families such as hygiene products, food, and shelter. This organization is also looking for volunteers. You can also take direct action by calling your state's government's officials and try to make your voice heard, and also refuse to let your taxes go to fund these facilities. There are many groups online that are looking for help to make sure these people are treated like human beings and receiving the help they desperately need. Let's prove that there is still hope for humanity and help solve this crisis in the most humane way possible. Remember, showing kindness isn't political. It's just the right thing to do. Thank you.